Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jacqueline Salee, and I'm your host today. Welcome to our screening of our PBS uh, episode of The New Worlds. We're so excited to be with you. As I mentioned, I'm the CEO for KMBA and for Kiwanis Broadcast Corporation. I wanted to introduce a few people first. Joining us today from Native Public Media, staff members from Arizona, Kyler Edsity is here, and KBRW station manager Jeff Seifert is here. Please stand and be recognized. I want to thank you for all your assistance in planning today's premiere. Today we're going to gather evaluations from you at the end of the program. We'd like to know from you how we can better improve future premieres. And please help yourself to refreshments. They're over in this corner. There's pretzels with cheese, popcorn, and I forget what else we have. Oh, fry bread also. So please help yourself. A big shout out to our supporters, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and First Alaskans Institute. I really want to thank you for your partnership over these years with doing workshops like these, but also with our internship program. We have several interns who have gone on to be reporters, administrative people within our organization, and it's so important that we support young Alaska Natives and those that would like to get into the media career. That's a lot of what Kiwanis is about, is to inspire you to tell your own stories in your own ways, and that's what KMBA, National Native News, and all of our programs are here to tell your story. I'd also like to recognize our special guests in the house. We have some staff members: Charles Sather, Thea Lawton, Kayla Reardon, Frank Blanquette. Please stand and be recognized. We also have board members. Our chair, Denise Morris, is here, and Katrina Jasek, also in the room. I also want to recognize Ed Allman, who is the president and CEO of KAKM and KSKA, Alaska Public Media, the PBS affiliate. Thanks for being here. I'd also like to welcome our facilitator, Antonia Gonzales, is here, who will be leading our panel discussion. Our panelists, Whitty Youngman, Alex Salee, and Drew Michael, will be joining in the panel today. So please stick around for the exclusive question and answer from our panelists. So please stick around for that. Now I'd like to introduce the New Worlds program. The season 2 of Native America is a groundbreaking portrait of contemporary Indian country. Building on the success of the first season, this 4-part Native-directed series reveals the beauty and the power of today's Indigenous world. Episode 1, New Worlds, is brought to you by PBS, KMBA Radio, and Native Public Media. Thank you for making this possible. This episode centers on Native innovators who lead a revolution in music, building, and space exploration. From the surface of Mars to the New York City hip-hop scene to the Pine Ridge Reservation, Native traditions are transforming life on Earth and other worlds. Now let's get ready for an unforgettable experience. Yeah, that was a great episode, and just a reminder that This is going to debut October 24th on PBS stations, so watch it on KKM or your local PBS affiliate. And different episodes are going to play weekly, starting October 24th until November 24th. So I'd like to now introduce Antonia Gonzales, who is our host of National Native News, and she's also the managing director for all of Kiwanik's news products. And she lives in Albuquerque, New Mexico, with her 2 children and husband. She's a multimedia award-winning journalist, having graduated from the University of New Mexico. And she's worked in television, magazines, and online and daily print journalism. So I'd like to invite Antonia and the panelists up to join us for a discussion.
Thank you, Jacqueline. And thanks, everyone. Happy Elders and Youth Conference. I hope everyone's having a great week. I want to introduce our panel this afternoon, Witty Youngman, Drew Michael, and Alex Salee. Thanks for joining me. And what a great way to talk. We just saw this film that talked about representation matters, dreams, having those dreams come true, and also just looking at Indigenous knowledge. And what a place to preview this premiere at Elders and Youth Conference, where I bet students, you've been learning from elders this week, and you have big dreams, and I hope all your dreams do come true someday. So let's start by talking about representation matters, whether you're a NASA engineer like we saw in the film, producing solar power, or if you're performing. Witty, let's start with you. You are, go ahead and introduce yourself first and tell us why representation matters.
Tayawan Chiancapi, Witty Youngman Amachiapi. Definitely watching this program, I saw a little bit of myself. I was very fortunate to have 4 different grandparents from 4 very different communities. My mother's parents were from Alaska and Arizona. My father's parents were from South Dakota and Montana. So I watched this and saw a little bit of myself just all over the place. I also studied science, so being able to see just somebody from the Southwest just like do so much and still be able to travel home and to still stay so connected to what's really important to him, to hang out with his mom and his grandma and still just learn how to weave and still speak his language. It just reminds me of driving the dirt roads back to grandma's house and going and just hanging out with her. In terms of representation, this is my Native America. This is what I want to see when people ask me, what does home look like? What do you want to hear when people ask you, like, what does it mean to you to be represented? I want people to see that we are still here, we're still accomplishing things, and that we are all over the place, and we want to continue to make leaps forward for our people. And I think there's tons of potential in every corner of this land. So that's what I think.
Thank you. And Drew, please introduce yourself and tell us why you're an artist and why representation matters.
Hello, can you hear me? Is this very loud? Yes, I'm Andrew Michael, legally. I was born in Bethel and raised in Eagle River. I'm a twin, and I remember growing up, we were adopted and raised outside of the place where we were born. So we were separated from our culture and the land and the people and the way of living. And for me, representation is really important. That's actually why I do what I do. As a mask maker, I'm a Yupik and Inupiaq mask maker. My birth father is Polish, so I always want to say the whole part of myself, to accept the full self. I always like to say that. But when I was growing up, I didn't have connection to culture, and I didn't know really anybody who was native growing up in Eagle River. So for me, I had to do a lot of soul searching myself to find my identity, and making masks helped me look through the mask into my identity and who I am and where I came from. And I had to go back to the land where I was born when I was like 28 to touch the land and to connect with that place. And I didn't feel like I had a role model as a Native young man. And so I searched and I searched, and I didn't really come up with a lot right away, but I realized that I needed to learn how to tell stories about my life through masks, and I wanted to be the example, or a role model, or I wanted to represent what it means to be a mixed race, Yupik Inupiaq Polish man, trying to find my identity and a connection to my culture. So yeah, representation matters, and so that's why I do what I do. Thank you.
Thanks. And Alex, same thing. Please introduce yourself and tell us why in what you do as a filmmaker, representation matters.
Sure, yeah. My name's Alexis Sonorik Salih, and on my father's side, I'm a Nupiaq from Nome, and my grandma's family's from Shishmarath, and she grew up in Brevik Mission in Nome. And on my mother's side, I'm from Tepic Nairi, Mexico, so I've got culture in the north and in the south. And yeah, as a filmmaker, similar to Drew, I didn't grow up with feeling like I had a role model or saw anyone in film or didn't even know that that was an option for me. I started in radio working with KMBA right out of high school, and just was a shy kid that would edit in a recording booth by myself, and discovered that I liked audio. And then, you know, went to school for it, went to LA, did the LA thing, and when I actually saw behind the curtain how films are made and the people behind them, and kind of not very rich stories that were getting millions of dollars, it opened my eyes to how that actually could be a possibility to me, because I know a lot of my community has really rich stories and so much storytelling and substance, and so it changed my whole life maybe 8 years ago to just start picking up the camera and learning how to do filmmaking, because I knew I was a storyteller just from the beginning. And I think the biggest thing is you know, being able to see other people like you, Alaska Natives, and our stories that are just so deep. And you know, I grew up in the city, and there was definitely a disconnection for me, but I think there's cool stories about being an urban Alaska Native as well, and all the work that our community has been doing. And a lot of the fun sort of like, just like how we have fun together too, like the humor that doesn't go talked about as much, but my grandma's one of the funniest people I know. So yeah, I think it's super important.
Thanks, Alex. And Witty, one of the things that they talked about a lot in the film was Indigenous knowledge. And whether you're an engineer, whether you're a musician, a filmmaker, an artist, it's all your Indigenous knowledge is used in everything we do. And for me as a storyteller, where people are storytellers. So how do you use your Indigenous knowledge within being a musician?
Sure. Well, I can't really hide my indigeneity. So I, speak about it. I write about it. I write about where I come from, and I write about the people that influenced me. I don't. I use that. I use the pain that we were kind of made from. And I don't, it's not a weakness for me when it comes to creating and when it comes to art. I definitely see it as something that I have worked beyond, and that is something that our generations can move through and become stronger through. So when I decided that music was going to be my outlet, I knew that I could use my words, I could use my music to turn that into something beautiful, that's something that people could connect to, or if they had no idea what I had lived through or what my ancestry had lived through, then they could at least listen to that music, listen to those words, and get some little understanding of what that might be like. And I've had people come up and, say that, that one song that you wrote just like spoke to me. And I've gotten gigs out of just somebody connecting to one song. I've gotten jobs, I've gotten to travel, I've gotten to reach out and go to other communities, just talked about. I've never shied away from talking about those difficult conversations that I had to, go to school and like learn how to talk around these conversations that were very, very difficult for the generations before us to talk about. They were told to not talk about it and not use their languages, not teach those things to their kids. They were taught to put them in, you know, different communities. They were taught them to remove them from the reservations if they could. Take them out of their communities, disconnect from all of that pain, all of that trauma. So being able to see that, grow up in that, and turn it into something beautiful, I think is how I was able to kind of flip the coin in a sense. So that's the way I used it.
And Drew, what Witty is sharing sounds a lot like your work as well.
Yeah, I was just like nodding and nodding and nodding. Yeah, I hear ya. I hear ya. Yeah, like our personal experiences and the things that we've gone through, like the disconnection for me, like being born and then separated from the land and the people. And even my grandmother, she died when we were 8, and I only met her for like a moment. So there was a big break in who I am, and I'm sure there's so many people here who have breaks in their lives in regards to like culture and identity and like even any of the values that we carry with our families. So it's like we're picking up the broken pieces, and as a mask maker, like my focus is to help people through transformation, because when you wear a mask, you transform and you become that entity that you are carrying. And in our traditional ways, like before colonizers came and restructured everything, they took that mask making and that ceremony, like, one of the things that I like to think about in all of my work is thinking about the people, place, and ritual. And I kept hearing that in this film that we were watching. People kept talking about the land, they kept talking about the people, and then they kept talking about the spirit and having some kind of way to come together and honor the spirits that are around, lift them up. And so as a mask maker, I feel like I'm kind of indigenizing the state. When I travel around and I teach, I'm bringing back, hopefully in some way, some part of our spirituality that connected to the things that are around, like the animals, the weather even, the land, the water, our ancestors. So I'm hoping that as I go around and teach or do something like workshops, or right now we're doing a COVID mask project, going around and talking to people about their experience through COVID, and everyone's able to make their own personal masks. So it's like I'm able to help rebuild that people, place, and ritual that was lost. So I love this work, and it is hard work, but for me, I transform through the work as well. So I'm like, things come back through themselves, and there's a reason why we're picking up the pieces. And like, what is it? The third generation are the ones that come back, and they bring the history of the old ways. They're able to see into it somehow. I think we're kind of there. I don't know if that's totally correct, but anyway, that's what I've heard.
Thank you. And Alex, one of the things about being a filmmaker is it's also educating. It's sharing Native stories and sharing this Indigenous knowledge, and just being able to have someone who's Native also be the person behind the camera, in front of the camera. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it was just making me think too, as Drew was talking, is like, this is all healing work. And I remember kind of that first moment that made me think like, wow, I'm doing work that really matters to me, and that I care about, and I'm in the right direction. We did a documentary a few years ago called Definition of Resilience, and it all focused on hip hop MCs using the music to share stories with youth through a medium that they really listen to and love. And I remember sitting there interviewing someone, and she was just talking about how she uses this music for her own healing and through a lot of the trauma that she's been through. And she, near the end of our conversation, you know, her speaking to another Native person, she was like, we're not drunk natives, we're so much more. And it hit me so hard in my core that I'm crying and my camera guy's crying, and we're just like, wow, like, I need to hear that message too. And every time I interview someone, I'm feeling that I'm also healing in that process. And I always feel like after, like, you know, you get emotional and they're sharing so much with you and they're being vulnerable, but you need to hear it, and I always feel like I need to gift them or something after. And it's funny because I've interviewed both of you guys, and I think we've got choked up. I've got choked up with both of them. So it's all good work that's hard to do, but I think that will have a reflection in our next generations.
And we want to leave some time if the audience has any questions to ask the panel, but just kind of want to end with what I really got inspired by too was people talking about their dreams and why that's so important. Like people saying, I never, I dreamed that I was going to work for NASA. I dreamed, the astronaut, I was going to go to space. And that all came true. And I think for our youth, yeah, we have a lot of healing. There are a lot of tough issues. Life's hard, but don't ever give up on your dreams. And I really hope that, we can inspire you. And I hope this conference inspires you. So I just want to go down the row and just your inspiration to the youth out there to follow their dreams.
Yeah, it took somebody just telling me, you know, you can do what I can do, and that I used to be too scared to like sing in front of even my college roommate. And then she was the one person who like uplifted me enough like to believe in myself. And I always knew that music was going to always be there and like get me through whatever I was going through. You know, whether I was completely happy and just wanted to listen to something so happy just to get me even higher, or if I was completely low and just needed to just like cry it out. Like music was always just going to be there. And then when I started using it as a creative outlet, like it became so much more cathartic for me. So if there are even just if there's even just one person out there that is even a little bit interested in using music as a way to get just that creative outlet out, there are so many different ways that you can take it, whether it's as DJ or whether it's just picking up a harmonica or playing around with the piano or joining a choir or something. Like there are so many different ways that you can take it, and you're so young, you know, there's no age limit to music. So please, if you have any questions, please ask.
Drew?
This is an inspirational, just kidding. Inspirational. I guess as a mask maker, I remember when I started, I was so nervous. Like I didn't know, what am I doing? What is this mask thing? How do I make one of those? And what is the right way? Am I gonna use the wrong color? Or am I gonna make the eye too big or small or something? I guess as an artist, I would say if you're young or old, or any age in between, I think masks are so important to be able to create as a person. And it's about the intention that you want to share, the story that you want to share, and it's okay. So those are, back in the day, they told us we can't have those. They were thrown out. And now we can pick them up again and we can use them. So I guess if you have any fears or questions about mask making as a mask maker or an artist, yeah, go to your elders, talk to your family, and if you don't have access to that, there's the internet. Don't feel like you can't do it because you don't know about it. You can learn. There's a lot of resources, more and more even. And if you want to bring mask making out to your community, I'm working with ANTHC to continue with this COVID project. So if you're interested, I can, if you want to, you can come up and ask, and we'll come out to your community, and we can do some transformational work. So thanks for having us.
Thank you. And Alex?
Yeah, I guess it is scary to try something that you've been thinking about doing. It's funny because I keep telling Drew, like, I want to come over and learn to carve. But as a filmmaker, like, I think, you know, we all have phones now, and just using something like your phone, learning how to put clips together, how to transition things, trying new stuff, using YouTube to learn different skills like that. And it's just going for it and trying it. And honestly, like, people want to hear our stories. Like, they're ready for authentic storytelling. And I'm so busy. I was up till 5 in the morning last night editing. So if if you want to be an assistant, I will take you on. And I'm always willing to share knowledge. And I always have people message me on Instagram about gear or different things like that. So there are a lot of opportunities. It's just taking the step to try and go for it. Yeah.
So I think we have about 5 minutes left. So if we have time for about 2 questions, and if you have a question, don't be afraid, just come on up, or we can have you, I'll hold the mic and you can ask the panel a question. No questions? All right, well, thank you. Thanks, everyone, for being here. Thank you,
Thank you.
Kiwanis and NPM, PBS, and thank you to all our panelists. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you, Antonia. That was a great panel discussion. And I would like to ask you to please fill out the survey. Jeff and Kyler are handing out surveys for you to fill out. And there's also a QR code that will come up on the screen, and you can fill out the form on your phone. So let's see. What a fantastic afternoon of sharing the episode of the PBS series. And let's give another round of applause for our great panelists. And thanks to Antonia for coming all this way to help us with the screening of this. I'd like to thank our the filmmaker, Gary Glassman, who's with Providence Pictures, the cast, the crew, the sponsors, and of course you, our audience members. So please tune in on October 24th for more episodes of the premiere of Native American Season 2 on PBS. And hope you have safe travels. And thank you for coming this afternoon.